Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me in here. Hope you can all hear me. Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good morning. I can hear you. What's the issue? I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for having me in on this program. Um, the question is our conception in Nigeria, our conception in this part of the world is can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me. Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Okay. Okay. The concern will be.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I've been unmuted now. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, we're trying to sort out how. I believe everyone should just talk and assume that they are being heard until you are told. Yeah. Everybody should just talk and assume that they are being heard until they are told otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too.
Yeah, I agree. I so so.
Hi everyone, good morning.
Hi everyone, good morning. Sorry, we're trying to resolve a slight network issue. Why are you trying to resolve
Good morning, and thank you for having me on this platform. The question is to disabuse the minds of Nigerians and the people who are logged into this program on the issue of mental health. We must understand that WHO, in their definition of health, now have recognized the importance of mental health in well-being. So therefore, the definition now of health is the state of being in a complete physical and mental health, and not just the absence of disease or infirmity in an individual. So you realize that mental health, because typically Nigerian environment has stigmatized somewhat, and maybe not just Nigerian environment really, even across other countries, there's the stigmatization of mental health. So when you say, oh, someone is mentally ill, the next thing that comes to the average mind is, oh, this person is schizophrenic, which by the layman's term is a mad person. But that's really not the truth. Mental health basically speaks to the well-being of the mind of an individual. Usually for me as a medical person, I would usually look at health both from the direction of physical and mental. Of course, there are other components that go into well-being, including social, emotional, and so many other factors. But for me as a medical person, I'll be focusing more on the physical and the mental aspect. So talk about the physical, usually you're talking about the body. But when you not talk about the mental, you're talking about the mind. You're talking about the person's thoughts. So even things as simple as depression, anxiety, panic, all those will feed naturally into what we call the mental health of a person. So meaning that you can see someone who is sitting right next to you, you're having a civil conversation with that person, but the person may not be mentally. So really, mental health is the well-being of a person in the emotional thought space. So how is your mind doing? What are your thoughts like? What is happening in your mind? Those are the things that we're usually looking at when we talk about mental health, not necessarily the person who is out there that we would refer to in a local parlance as a mad person. So mental health really speaks to the state of the mind of an individual. And I believe that part of our discussions today will look at that well-being in terms of mental health. Thank you. Well, what I would say to that is, let's look at it holistically from the point of view of well-being. When you say well-being, incorporates quite a number of things, including mental health. But when you're looking at well-being, you're talking about the social part of it, you're looking at the financial part of it, you're looking at the emotional part of it, you're looking at the physical part of it, and the mental part of it. So usually we'll talk about, so to answer your question clearly, I would look at it from the point of view of well-being. Clearly right now, we all know that we're in the middle of a pandemic, which has affected almost, in fact, every country in the world. And because of the challenges that this new situation that we have found ourselves in has presented, we now see situations where our economy is being affected, which is now leading to the loss of jobs, the loss of economic capacities and livelihoods for many people. Naturally, when one finds themselves in a place where they are unable to meet up with their obligations in life, imagine as a parent, you have children, and you have responsibility to take care of these children. Now we know that in our current dispensation, you need finance to be able to pay your bills, meet up with obligations to take care of your family. So of course, in a situation where this ability to do that is cut off for any individual, there definitely will be that rise in anxiety, the rise in stress. And these are factors that would naturally predispose anyone, even for someone who already, for instance, had what we would call latent, maybe blood pressure, meaning that the person already had a predisposition to have high blood pressure, but had not started to express itself. These kinds of situations where you're now talking about a loss of job, or even the fact that we had even been locked down at home for so many weeks to months, so much uncertainty, so much anxiety. All these things will naturally lead to the capacity for people to develop increase in blood pressure. It will lead to the capacity for people to develop other stress-related illnesses that we see as clinicians. So really, truly, the way to this is positivity. Well-being in itself is a term that is a positive term. It's a positive aspiration that we must be deliberate about. So well-being in itself usually speaks to something positive. So I think the need, therefore, is for everyone to look out for their well-being and to see it as something they need to be deliberate about. I hope I would also have the opportunity maybe to discuss.
Okay, so you're actually preempting me now, Doc. We'll come to that. We'll come to that in a bit. But let me go to Babatunde Akin. Tunde, can you hear me? Are you there? Tunde, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. So Tunde, let me take you on. Now, the current situation we are in, I was looking at the books of the Q2 report of Netflix 2 days ago, and I noticed that they make so much money. I mean, they keep going up since the shutdown. I've noticed that all these digital or technological firms are beginning to make huge revenues and profits. Now, tell us, because I know you play very well in that space. Tell us, what are the opportunities for our viewers, for people who are listening to you? What are the opportunities for people who want to go into that space?
Okay, thank you very much, Chidi, and thanks everyone for having me. So Babatunde Akin Moses by name. I run a fintech platform, and everything we do is entirely online. And really, so we didn't skip a bit this period. And just to directly answer the question,
meaning that you've made so much money this period too.
We didn't do badly, to be honest. We didn't do badly, and actually some segments of the business have actually done better than even pre-pandemic period. And that's just because of what Chidi has said. So the first thing about technology, which is what Netflix is benefiting from, is it allows you to scale easily, right? So Netflix is not, they are not unencumbered by geography. Anybody in the world can use your products once you get it online. No, you don't have to drive it to a border. You don't have to take it to anywhere physically. So that's one of the things that, those of us in the tech space, we enjoy, particularly if you take your business online. So when you speak about the opportunities, to be honest, are still very few opportunities have changed entirely. A lot of the opportunities are still where they are. It's just that the method of delivering them to the customer is what has changed. So if you take some examples now, you would say maybe hotels didn't do too well this period, right? But guess what? A lot of people that do short-let apartments are actually doing really well, because for the other model of the short-let apartments, for instance, you are taking a space on your own. You are not necessarily going to a hotel that is crowded. So there's still some advantages even in the online space for people in hospitality doing short-let. So that is there. And there's something again we've also seen is there's also a big opportunity in retail. So people And people don't go out too often because the open markets aren't as open as they used to be. So people are now going to supermarkets maybe just once a month. And guess what? When they go there, you have to shop for a month or two. I've never in my life seen people buying 10 dispenser refills at once before. People just buy one or two. But now people are going to supermarkets and they are buying 10 at a time because they don't want to come out as often as they used to. So retail is growing. Even if you think, so into your mind, you think, oh, retail shouldn't do too well, but it's actually doing really well because people are now shopping in more formal retail centers, right? And that takes us to another place that is doing really well too, which is also the logistics. So people that don't want to go out, for people on the extreme end, we are delivery arm for their businesses, or quickly partner with people that had logistic businesses, because right now the customers are not coming out as they used to. So you might have to get to the customers, right? Yeah. And that is something. And I mean, just generally for service providers, right? People that are into services, one way they've been able to move their business online is creating video digital products. So what do I mean? Say Dr. King, for instance, on mental health. If she does a session for like an hour teaching people about mental health, she just puts that online, and then 1,000 people can buy it at the same time, as opposed to being in a room filled with a cap that can only take 100 people. So there's a lot of demand for people that are able to digitize things in a video kind of sense, or put it in a way that it can be consumed online by an unlimited number of people. So services can be digitized through writing or videos, and a lot of people actually really, really cleaned out from it this period. We've seen a lot of schools go online, same model. We've seen a lot of telemedicine now. People are getting free health consultations online. So those are the areas that some of the areas that we see really booming. And obviously there's also agriculture, because I mean, we can't import a lot of things this period. All the borders were closed. So some people in the agri space also really made a lot of money, because people had to look inwards for a lot of products. Even the retail stores I'm talking about, they couldn't import as much as they used to. So they had to look for local alternatives. So local sourcing, both in terms of agri and manufacturing as well.
Oh, fantastic. So let me take you on that. Tunde, tell us, somebody wants to start, somebody wants to start today. Somebody wants to begin to digitalize their operations, or doesn't even have any operations to digitalize, but wants to go into playing in this space. What should the person do?
Okay, it's very simple. I would say start with what you have. So how do you start with what you have? The first things you need are internet connection, but the internet connection doesn't run on its own, right? You need a phone or a laptop. So you have to invest in that phone or that laptop, right? Now I'm starting from the very, very basics, just like you said. You get a phone or you get a laptop. So that's the first step. The second step is then to be able to put what you do out there. Now the world has changed, right? Or at least for the start, you don't need a website or a blog. So the easiest means of starting is on social media. So many people have shunned websites now because their Instagram pages are pulling in so much sales. So for a start, the easiest thing to do is to get your phone or your laptop, invest now in internet subscription, and go to social media and talk about what you do. The biggest hurdle is not even technological in my mind. It's psychological and mental, in that most of us are afraid of judgment, or afraid of what people will say if we post that we are selling pepper on Instagram. But the truth is, you have to be able to, break that psychological barrier and go online and talk about what you do. That's the easiest. It is free. It is free for you to post. Before, to get in a newspaper that will just, get to 1,000 people, you need to have a lot of money to advertise. But now you have your Instagram channel. It is free for you to post. Fine, you need money to boost ads, but that is the first step you do. So I would always advise that, look, if you are starting from ground zero, get a phone, go to social media, talk about what you do. Do not be afraid. These guys are not going to feed you anyways. So you have to be able to get to social media. And obviously, you can then step it up to maybe a website when you have some money. There are a lot of free website services now. You can use Wix, Paystack. Paystack is offering free e-commerce stores. So that is the next logical step, right? So you start from what is free, and then you go to, paid services. Paystack has a free e-commerce store. Flutterwave has a free e-commerce store. There's a service called Wix Online you can use to build a free website, and any other solutions like that. So that is where people start from.
Interesting. So we're going to stay drilled down on what you've said today. I'll come back.
Yes.
Let me talk to Gospel. Gospel Obele, are you there? Gospel, are you good? Hello, Gospel. Can you hear us? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, everyone.
Okay,
yes, I can hear you.
Good morning. Everyone. Good morning. So, Gospel, let me just ask you straight up. We are in challenging times. I mean, funny times. A lot of things have happened at this particular point in time. So many of our listeners are asking themselves, what should I do next? Where do I go from here? So, quickly, can you tell us what are the practical ways to approach this new normal? What are the practical ways to approach today? If I may put it that way.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you get my question?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Okay, so I said that in the world today has changed completely, totally. Even work life has changed completely, totally. And a lot of people watching this program asking themselves, how do I go? Where do I go from here? What should I do after now? So quickly, can you tell our viewers, what are the practical tools? What's the practical approach to deal with today?
All right. Thank you again for having me. Really appreciate the conversation so far. I'm an economist and I run a market intelligence and development organization. For about 3 years now, we've been doing what we call economic outlook, economic/business outlook, meaning that trying to speak into the events and factors that will shape businesses and the lives of individuals in a particular year, right? And coming also from the economic angle, basically, but ensuring that the information is usable by every strata of society. Now, in January, we proposed that by events of what have happened in 2019, there will be pockets of expanding cost pressure. All right, both in the economy and in the lives of individuals. So, and the world was already, Nigeria particularly, was already moving close to a recession. All right, with the way the oil prices were dwindling and many other reforms that we had brought into the fore that were not enabling businesses in the right sense of things. Then Corona came, the COVID-19 came, and then it's as though the recession and all of these things that we had initially projected earlier in the year happened earlier than expected. Now, it's interesting to note that, I mean, like the moderator mentioned, a lot of things have changed in terms of both economic and social dynamics. So what that means is for government, for businesses, for households, for individuals, everybody is at a place of uncertainty. Nobody is really sure what's going to happen next. And that calls for one thing, it makes clarity priceless. Right, it makes clarity priceless. So what we've observed is over the lockdown, the past 2, 3, 4 months, we've had different sessions with organizations seeking clarity. As regards what will be the next frontier, what will be the next thing for consumer markets, what will be the next thing for businesses, what will be the next thing for individuals, what will be the next thing for economies as we move on, into a post-COVID phase, as we like to say, or into the new normal. And I also like to say that passion without clarity going forward would be either undervalued, underused, or wrongly channeled. Secondly, resilience without a form of contextual intelligence would also be that resources are out there for waste or will be channeled wrongly. So clarity and intelligence are two core parts of whatever individuals need to thrive in today's economy or social economy. Now, going forward, I would like to state clearly before I move into particularly what people can do or how people can handle the uncertainty we find in our environment. This is not the first uncertainty that we'll find ourselves in, both as a nation, as a people, and as a global environment. It's just that it's a different kind of uncertainty. But one thing cuts across in different environments, different climes, different economies, no matter where you are on the developmental ladder, all right, in the world today, one thing cuts across. With uncertainty or with crisis comes two things. Number one, confusion. Then number two, an avenue to explore and take things further. So it means that every uncertainty is two-faced, and which is what we need to practically, people need to understand, organizations need to understand, economies need to understand, individuals who run businesses and manage families and households need to understand. There is no crisis that happens, that tilts completely to the negative. A part of it also tilts to the positive. But this is a challenge. With my work as an economist and as a market intelligence personnel, I've realized that being the culture and the design of the African, we are not used to embracing and doing the hard work, to discover the better part of change. Let me use it that way. So we talk about storytelling, we talk about a lot of things, but we hardly talk about research and the questions around what is the next big thing in the midst of this crisis. Now, let me bring it down to the Christian space. There was a burning bush, right? Moses saw a burning bush, but he was able to see beyond that burning bush what God was saying or what the intelligence was for the time in the nation of Israel, for the people of Israel. So you can have a burning bush, but the bush is not actually burning. That is a sign to show you that there's something bigger behind, or there's a next big thing coming. All right. So now, but what Moses do differently? He sat down to listen, to pay attention, to evaluate critically, and which encompass the 5 steps I'll be sharing this morning. But I want to first throw out the challenge that the mindset, the first place that the average Nigerian or African needs to take into cognizance, or even the global citizen, no matter where you are in the world, your mindset is the first place. Now, would you believe that most of the organizations that have been celebrated today, even on the Forbes 500 list, or the Forbes 500 list rather, you realize that most of these big organizations, General Electric, General Motors, Microsoft, Facebook, and many of the likes, started in the middle of either a recession or maybe 2 to 3 years before a major recession hit, or even after a recession or a major economic challenge came on board. If you drill down into history, realize that the biggest, even Instagram, the biggest, most influential and powerful organization started in the midst, in the midst or post-crisis in the world that we live in. So that's to tell you that the bush may be burning, but the bush is actually not getting burnt, and there is a bigger message behind that. So the mindset and the perspective around the crisis we are in today is extremely central, especially for the African, who has been channeled to think of things from an emotional side, who have been channeled to think of things first from a cultural landscape, all right, rather than a logical / scientific or / an objective landscape. So first of all, every crisis is two-faced. That's the first thing. Second thing I would like to mention in trying to get ahead of this season, and a lot of these things I'll be seeing them in the masterclass in the evening. I'll be breaking down strategic, clear business steps. So hold
on. So I don't want you to preempt your masterclass. So let me just ask you, to give context to all that you've said, for the purpose of this morning's conversation. Let me ask you, what are the businesses someone can start today in a recession?
All right. So the first answer to that question is that, number one, an average individual has to gather intelligence, right? By default of crisis, I had this interview with Channels TV and Plus TV several times. By default, by default as a result of this crisis, some sectors have gone under. Some other sectors are still thriving, while some other sectors are struggling to thrive. So the first place, because it will be unfair to give an answer to what sectors without showing intelligence as to the how. Like I mentioned, resilience or passion without clarity or intelligence would almost be useless or largely fired in the wrong direction. So first thing is to understand what sectors will currently survive on post-COVID. And number one, you want to look at agriculture. Agriculture, because the world is at a survival big zone right now, right? Stimuluses and everything has come down to the level of survival and technology, first of all. So survival will mean food, survival will mean cash, survival will mean how can I do what I've been doing in a way that I don't have to expose myself, all right? People are literally thinking of how to take cover and protect themselves, but yet still find a cause to live and breathe. So agriculture is first. Food security is very much important right now. But then the challenge with agriculture and many other sectors I'll mention shortly is that you have to think about the solution and how to get it to the final consumer, right? So you may build a digital platform for that connection, but you need an offline strategy to get that product or service to the final consumer. So number two that will be on board will be logistics, right? So many organizations who are running bikes, who used to own bikes, and people who even randomly own bikes or keke napes and the like have turned them into delivery mechanisms. So logistics will be at the core, right? Even if you buy a product on Jumia today, the product will not fall from the sky. It's the gap between what you purchased online and receiving it at the doorstep is logistics. So agriculture, food, first of all, because when there is no food, inflation will kick in. Because scarcity will always attract value and prices will go up. Agriculture, food is very important. So you need a tech/logistic based infrastructure to get your food or your item to the final consumer at the doorstep. For instance, you can find Eco Hotel and some other big hotels going into home service deliveries, selling food now and doing home service delivery. What necessitated that? A professor of marketing in India said something. That the future of Guinness is not in the Irish pubs, but in the Lagos bars. But guess what? Guinness Nigeria mentioned that you just place an order of how many crates of whatever you want, we'll deliver it at the doorstep. So right now, the future of Guinness is no longer in the Lagos bars, but the bars have been brought to the people's homes. Let me just use that analogy. All right. So I'm just trying to say that logistics is number two, agriculture is number one, logistics is number two, e-commerce is number three.
Okay, so hold your thoughts, Gospel. You are roaring to let go of everything inside of you. I need to restrain you so that you can still have some things to share with us in the evening during the master class. But I'll still come back to you. Let's go to Pastor Chukwudum. Pastor Chukwudum.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yes, I am.
Okay, sir. You run a very successful online ministry. So can you tell us what necessitated it? How did you start, and where are you today? Hello, Pastor Chukwudum.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you, Chidi. But first, I want to thank Benjamin Dike, for yielding this vision. 70 years and waxing strong, so something that I see is relevant, not just in the times we're living in, but subsequently till our Lord comes whenever he chooses to. So this vision is for the appointed time 17 years ago, and one that its relevance will never wane. I'm Chukwudum Obi, and I'll be sharing my thoughts today on the role of new media and the church. Like you said, I do something small, not that big, online. And somehow I got that leading to do that for a couple of years. And what happened this year made me realize that leading was straight for the Holy Spirit. So I was like, already ahead of what is happening now. And I'm so grateful to God for that. Now, the theme of this year's conference is so apt. Adapt, arise, advanced. It's so apt for the times we are living in, and I dare say there won't be any more appropriate theme than that. You said we shouldn't advertise our masterclass that is coming up, but I'm going to have a masterclass, later on today, and I'm going to glean from the U.S. Marines mantra of improvise, adapt, and overcome. I mean, that mantra is so key in the times we are living in. And the church today is like split into two, pews, so to say, by the aisle of controversy when it comes to media and ministry and preaching the gospel, and I see the church suffering from what I call cognitive dissonance at this moment, where there's a camp that is for the media and there's a camp fighting for the church to return back into the four walls. And I listened to Dr. DK in his opening welcome speech, and he was so clear on that. I mean, that ship has sailed. Does that mean we're not going to come back to the church? Oh, of course we will. This time next year, it will be back to business as usual. But it will be deception for church leaders not to glean from what just happened. I believe it's an interruption for us to glean at what just happened and focus on what is important for the next decade and possibly the future of doing ministry. The four walls of church is not the future of doing ministry. Is the four walls of church going to stay with us for quite a while? I believe so, but it is not the future of doing ministry. So the sooner we strategically reposition ourselves and reimagine ministry going forward in the times we're living in, the better it will be. The more effective we're going to be as ministers and the more efficient we're going to be as ministers. Though I'll be speaking to leaders in ministry, in the masterclass, we're going to be sharing a lot of info and statistics on what is going on now. I think Tunde said something when he was speaking about the power of video. I'm going to show some, I don't want to use the word shocking, but some insightful statistics on how powerful video is, and is a tool that everybody, even the businessman, the economist, the doctor, whoever, like my wife is a doctor, they're now doing video consultation. It's a powerful tool that everyone should get on board, because that is the future. That is the future. I mean, one of the statistics shows that Generation Z and the generation, what do they call it, the millennials, are so much into video and live streaming. So if we want to reach those two generations and we still want to take back church back into the four walls of church, I'm afraid if we don't change in the next 10 years, we're going to lose a lot of these young people. I'm going to stop here for now. Thank you again, Chidi.
Let me preempt you. Let me preempt you.
Can
you tell us?
Okay.
Can you tell us?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what sort of message? What sort of content that you can put out there that will keep your audience glued to you? I mean,
okay, as a minister, you mean?
Content that is impactful.
As a minister, you mean?
Yes,
or just
no, as a minister of the gospel. No, as a minister of the gospel.
Oh, as a minister, the world we live in, we say the world we live in is changing, the changing world. The truth is that the world we live in is not changing. The world we live in has changed. Has changed. So as a minister, you need to put new wine in new wineskin. Don't try the old wine in the old wineskin.
Hello, Pastor Kurum. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah,
I'm
good.
hearing you. Yeah, good. I think I was muted by whoever that is in charge.
Okay.
I don't know where you guys stopped hearing. So
if you don't mind, a little bit of breakup.
Okay.
We're talking about old wine skin.
Yes, and new wine skin. The message for today should be new wine in new wine skin. Not old wine in old wine skin. Neither should it be old wine in new wine skin. It will also work. Some people are like, okay, fine, we're going to preach the old time religion, but we're going to deploy it using a new method. We should also do that. What we should put out there as ministers is new wine in new wine skin. And what is new wine? New wine is still that tradition, but delivered in the right way. That's why I said that tradition was yesterday's innovation. Today's innovation will be tomorrow's tradition. So we should put out the message of grace. And message of grace is the message of Jesus Christ. That's why Jesus had serious fallouts with the Pharisees. And today we have modern Pharisees with us here in the church. Because the Pharisees refused to let go of the old wine, and they refused to let go of the new wine. In my masterclass, I'll show you scriptures on that. So we should preach Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And we shouldn't preach about ourselves. We should preach Jesus. We should put Jesus in the forefront. And Jesus is grace. It's told us that in 1 John chapter 1, verse 16. So we should preach the message of grace, not the message of condemnation. Thank you, Chidi.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's go back to Dr. King. Dr. King, are you there?
Very much still here.
Okay, great. While Tunde was speaking, he gave you a business idea. I'm sure you will have to make arrangements to pay him for that idea. So let me ask you quickly, Dr. King. How do you deal with the issue of mental health challenge?
Okay. Well, I have tried to steer us really away somewhat from focusing totally on mental health. And the reason being that we need to look at this more holistically, you know. To answer your question, for us as individuals at this time, I was really happy with what Pastor Obi said. We are at a time that our lives have changed. And the earlier that everyone realizes that and begin to adapt to our new situation, then it would mean a lot for the average person. Let me quickly mention that unlike Ebola, when we had it some years ago, that we were able to quickly contain it and eradicate it in Nigeria. Unfortunately, coronavirus doesn't have that same sequence. It's now, we all know that the WHO has said that it's an airborne disease. What that means, and don't forget also that before now, we had other types of coronaviruses that had existed. Your average common cold is caused by coronaviruses. This is just a novel one that we are now seeing. So we are going to have this with us for some time. Let us not be mistaken about that. So the earlier we begin to adapt and then to arise, really. And the arising is the staying positive. The arising is eating healthy. The arising is for us to begin to exercise regularly, because we need to take charge. We need to take ownership of our new normal and begin to charge ourselves to how best we can arise really out of this new normal that we have now find ourselves. So we need to eat well, eat healthy, eat well. People need to begin to understand that exercising at this time will help to stimulate your mental health. Also, staying active, it's a very vital part of keeping your mental health together. You must be able to do things like read a new book from time to time. Use this period, if you are still, maybe your office has not fully resumed, you're not back into the workspace fully, you're at home, you're working from home, take time out to learn new things. Take time out to develop new skills. Take time out to read new books. Take time out to work on your mind. Like I said earlier, well-being is a positive attitude. We must stay positive. We must have a grateful attitude at this time. People must begin to understand that wherever nobody wants a bad situation. Nobody wants things to be not like, if let's say you were for people, for instance, that now have a half salary instead of maybe a full salary. It's not something anyone wants, but you're still grateful for what you have. And in that attitude of gratitude, you are able to see opportunities again and then still move forward with life. So also, connection with people at this time is very, very important. For you to maintain soundness in your mental space, you need the support of family, the support of friends. In as much as fine, we're on lockdown, we're asked to social distance from one another. Social distancing doesn't mean you cannot call someone on the phone. Social distancing doesn't mean we cannot have Zoom calls with our family and with our friends. So it's important at this time that people maintain connection. It's not a time it's time we're asked to isolate at home, but not isolating from people. So we must understand that at this time, those connections are very key for us to maintain our mental health. And then at this time also, giving becomes a very important part of boosting your well-being. Because we know as Christians that there's that feeling of fulfillment, that feeling of achievement that you get when you are able to share, when you're able to give of what you have, particularly to people who are less privileged than you are. So this is a time for everyone to look at that and say, oh, how can I be of help? How can I assist my neighbor? How can I help other people, maybe in my office, who are not doing as well as I am, or people around me that I know who are not doing as well as I am, for whatever little that you have. So giving, it will help to boost your sense of fulfillment, your sense of wellness, and that also is a way where our mental health can be, supported. Like I've said already, staying positive, managing stress, and staying active.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. King. So let me quickly go to Tunde. Tunde, I have one more question for you. Tunde, can you hear me? Hello, Tunde. Tunde, are you there? Okay, we'll come back to Tunde. Let me quickly ask Obele, Gospel, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
All right, so tell us, in a nutshell, have you been through a difficult period in your life?
Many times. And,
many times. Can you share with our audience the practical tools that you deployed in dealing with that situation?
Okay, I'm going to be as honest as I can,
yes,
because not because the Christian environment, but it's just my own model that has worked. Number one, for every challenge that comes, I try to, as much as possible, see them from two perspectives. So yes, it's a bush, it's a burning bush, but the bush is not burning. So it means that there's something interesting about every situation that would lead me to the next big phase of my life. Number two, I try as much as possible to seek clarity. And part of seeking clarity is to intensify prayers at the time, traveling prayers more particularly, to settle my heart before God concerning that challenge and to press on to hear and to see what exactly is going on. And that was the model Moses used, right? It was when he came closer to the burning bush that I realized that the bush was not burning and there was something God was saying about that situation. So it's until they will come and press close cover what is being said and realize that the bush is not actually burning in as much as there's fire on the mountain, in quotes, or on the bush. So yes, I try to engage traveling prayers. And the number 3 thing I do is I read a lot. So I read conventional books, I follow news links, I follow forums and all of those things. I read a lot of high-level transformational materials. Yes, again, because of my work as an economist / a research and market intelligence person. So I read a lot of books. And as I'm reading these books, I'm trying to read them from the place of, understanding what the next thing, what the next big thing is for me at this moment of my life. So I've gone through a lot of cycles of uncertainties and great times, and how I deal with them is simply, going through traveling prayers and to find out what exactly is going on, because the bush is not burning. And then what is God saying? Then I open myself to high-level information and a lot of market awareness or commercial awareness on how to unlock that challenge I find myself in. Then I ask questions from very objective and people I have in my lives that I respect. So those are the major ways I go around it, but particularly by paying attention to the moment and not using my cultural lens to look at every challenge.
That's good. Thank you very much, Gospel. Thank you so much. So let me go to Pastor Chukwudum. Pastor Chukwudum.
Yes,
hello, Pastor.
Go ahead.
Yes. Can you tell us, Pastor Chukwudum?
Yeah.
Can you tell us? There are people who out there who say, how do I start? Where do I even start from? Some are even crippled by fear. Some are crippled by paralysis of analysis. Can you help them this afternoon by telling them these and these and these are the things you need to do to start?
Just like God told Moses went to God to sort of complain when they were at the edge of the Red Sea, and God asked Moses a question. And what did God ask Moses? God asked Moses, what do you have in your hand? So I said to the pastors out there, or I asked this question, what do you have in your hand? Start with it and God will use it. So what you basically, like Tunde also talked about this, what you basically need is just internet connection. And every phone can do that. Just get your phone, connect it to the internet, place it on a tripod, get lights, and that's it. Get a good background, and that's it. And send God's word to the people that you are engaging. So it's really easy. Just start with what you have. Now, what you notice is that when you now start, things will start taking shape. Then, by all means, find out what other people are doing. Now, one of the keys to surviving the times we're living in is collaboration. Collaboration, very important. Gone are the days where we are locked up in one ministry and they tag you as being a rebel if you attend another church. But what is happening, this lockdown has totally, obliterated that. People sit in their house and attend different churches all at once. People sit in their house and listen to several ministers preach either on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday evening. People sit in their house and they are fed. And I believe in my heart and in my spirit that this is one of the things Jesus wants to achieve with this lockdown. So by all means, collaborate. See what Dr. DK is doing with this platform. He has collaborated and networked several people from different backgrounds, and we are enjoying a well of information, and people are blessing us, and it's beautiful. This is what should happen also in the church. If I'm not wrong, House on the Rock currently is also holding their world conference, right? And what is going on?
Yeah, you're very correct.
Yeah, ministers all over the world are feeding us that are connected. So it is a period of collaboration. Any minister, any church that is still closed up in this lockdown in my own opinion, please, nobody should be angry, but in my own opinion, has not learned one of the lessons that Jesus is trying to pass across the church with this lockdown.
Thank you, Pastor Chukudum. So let me come to you, Tunde. I will end with you. Tunde, are you there now?
Yes, I am.
Well, okay, great. So I'm going to ask you a more personal question. Many years ago, when I met you at Lagos Business School, you had not started this your journey. You are still looking like a primary school student. So can you tell us, just like a teaser in preparation for the master class, can you tell us what encouraged you to embark on this journey? Because we've had so much success in such a short period of time. So tell our viewers.
Okay, that's a very deep personal question, and I think it's important to understand, where I'm coming from too. So I used to be in consulting, right? I used to be mid-level management in one of the big fours. When I took, that leap of faith, and I think you did the executive program, but I was there full time.
Yeah.
So I actually had to take a study leave for 2 years, unpaid, by the way. So it was me looking for a shift, right? And I guess for me, the question I asked myself is, really, at that point, what's the worst that could happen, right? So if I look at, which is why personally, and this is my own personal advice to anybody that wants to go in business, is I think you should always work somewhere first. So there is a base to fall back on. So at the worst case scenario, when we're about wrapping up from LBS, I had the opportunity to go back to where I was coming from. And I also had the opportunity to go on this new adventure and ask myself, look, what is the worst case scenario and what's the best case scenario? So the worst case scenario was, at that point, I had something to do. And the best case scenario is that, I might be able to, touch millions of lives with this thing I'm doing while, making some money at the same time. So if you look at things from that perspective is, let me try this. I don't want to look back 20, 30 years and have that regret of what if. And the deal I made with myself and say, let's try this path for a year or two and let's see how it goes. Worst case scenario, I'll dust my CV and go and look for a job. Not everybody can say that because not everybody has a backup plan. But in my case, I had the boldness to go on it because I had worked, I had some experience, had some certifications. So I already had a trade, right, that I could always do. And even in the early days, to be honest, before we started, making good money, first 6 months to 1 year, I was juggling both on the side in terms of doing some freelance consulting work and then, doing the business too until obviously the business was stable enough to sustain itself. So that is what a lot of times, if you look at the best case and the worst case scenario, the best case scenario in most instances is you can go as high as possible. There is no limit to how far you can go, right? And if you look at the worst case scenario, you should be able to set a baseline of what would you do if this thing goes bad. And in many cases, if you look at the worst case scenario, we'll see that it's not so bad, really. A lot of us are just afraid. So if you conquer fear, you move. So that's it from me.
Thank you today. Thank you very, very much. So let me, in conclusion, because we need to go now, I'm gonna get ready for like Gospel has been wanting to do. So in conclusion, Dr. King, can you tell us in one second, what's your parting shot to our viewers? In 1 second, please.
It's a motivation. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So we can do all things. We just have to put our minds to it. And we indeed can do all things through Christ who gives us strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. King. See you in the evening. Pastor Chukwu, your parting shot to our viewers. You please unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, it is said that videos, can you hear me now? It said that videos on social media generate 1,200% more shares than text and images. That is the power of video. I'm going to be sharing a lot of statistics in the evening in my masterclass. I'm going to share a lot of statistics on live streaming. The world is moving to videos online. So if the church is not online, preaching the gospel with videos, they're going to lose the world.
Wow. Tunde, can you tell us your parting shots to our viewers, please?
Well, it's simple. Just a reiteration of something I've said before. In anything you want to do, just remember that failure is an option, but fear is not.
Thank you. Gospel, please, your parting shot to our viewers.
All right. I would say thank you for listening to me, first of all. I would say that let's remember that every crisis is two-faced. The bush, there may be a burning bush, but the bush is not burning. So there is a message behind all of this crisis for you as an individual.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much to our panel of discussants. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you in the evening. And to our viewers, I'm very sure you've had a fantastic time listening to these four heavyweights. Please make sure you don't miss the master class. You are going to learn a lot. You are going to gain a lot of experience and from what they're going to teach in the evening. Please don't miss it. The link to the master class, you will find it on where you watch on the comment section of the various links, and it starts by 5:20. Please don't miss it. There is no Premier League today. There is no La Liga today. Just go straight to the link. Go straight to our YouTube channel, Joshua Leadership Project. Go to the Facebook page, Joshua Leadership Project. Go to the Instagram page, Joshua Leadership Project. You will find the link to the masterclass there. It starts by 5:20 exactly. A parting shot for you is to quote exactly what Tunde just said. Failure is an option, but fear is not. God bless you. See you in the evening.
Hello, welcome. It's so good to be here. Some of you may or may not have seen the video as I introduced myself, but my name's Simon Lau, and it's a real privilege to be here and have the opportunity just to share some perspectives and thoughts about leadership with you at the Joshua Leadership Conference. This is the 17th year, and I remember back 7 years ago when I received an invitation from my good friend Benjamin, asking me to come over from Singapore to be in Nigeria. Hello, welcome. It's so good to be here. Some of you may or may not have seen the video as I introduced myself, but my name's Simon Lau, and it's a real privilege to be here and have the opportunity just to